Welcome home. I'm Dr.Thema, a minister, licensed psychologist, and sacred artist. And this is Homecoming, a podcast to facilitate your journey home to yourself. While I will provide weekly inspiration and mental health tips, this podcast is not the same as personalized therapy. I'm so excited you're on the journey. If you want to request specific topics or to submit a poem for me to read on the podcast, email me at homecomingpodcast@gmail.com. Also, to build our community, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let's begin. Welcome home, co-journers. I'm glad you're here for another episode, and I'm delighted to share a poem from Roberto Schiraldi. And the poem is entitled The Sacred, Back to the Beginning. All life is sacred. Wise ones have always taught this simple, beautiful truth. Can't be sold or can't be bought. From birth to death, our oath, life-giving pledge to treat all life as sacred, recreation from the edge. We felt alone in loss, however, not too far. With love, our guide forever, we remember who we are. So awakening from the sleep, we greet this brand new day, and the journey begins anew, inside me and inside you, inside me and inside you. Mitakui Oyasin, all my relatives, may we remember. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Roberto. And it was so great to receive this from you. We worked together many years ago at the Counseling Center at Princeton University. So glad for you to share your healing love poems. Thank you so much. Well, our topic on today is cultivating a growth mindset, a growth mindset. So many of us want to not only heal, but also grow. And so when you think about trying to grow your life and go to another level, there are a number of qualities and or actions and traits that can really assist you and empower you so that you can actually grow. And the first one that I want to name is being able to accept or receive constructive criticism. It is so important if we are going to grow that we are open to learning. Sometimes people think whenever you give them feedback that it is an attack or you're being a hater or you're being negative or you're jealous. And so if you are unable to receive any feedback, then you put yourself in a position to never be able to grow beyond where you are right now, right? So not everyone is out to get you. Not everybody is negative. There are people who actually want to help you. And we end up standing on our own wings when we cannot receive feedback. And what that communicates to the other people who may be trying to help is, oh, this person isn't going to listen anyway. So in the future, they will be less likely to share with you. And that might feel victorious to you if you don't want any feedback, but it does not cultivate or create the kind of soil, the kind of environment, the kind of mindset that will lead to your growth. And so I invite you in this season to think about, when was the last time I took in somebody's feedback or critique or suggestion or new insight and information that allowed me to shift, to grow, to expand my mind and therefore my life. And so this could be a friend, it could be a partner, It could be a parent. It may be a supervisor, a teacher, a stranger. But it is so important if I'm going to grow that I am open to receiving new insights, including new insights about myself, right? Because sometimes it is just a matter of neutral information, and now people are sharing the information. But there are other times when people are giving us feedback or critique as it relates to how we communicate or how we handle things, or how we respond or our lack of responsiveness. And so put yourself in a posture where you can consider the messages that come to you. It doesn't mean that everything people say, you now have to change your whole way of being, trying to people please every person. But it means I am aware that there are things I don't know. I am aware that there is wisdom in the room besides within me, but other people carry wisdom and knowledge. And so when people are willing to share with me, then I want to be able to reflect, to digest, to consider it instead of being a wall that is not receptive at all to any criticism, critique, feedback, suggestion. So as we consider the ways we need to grow in that area, I invite you to take breath, inhaling in through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. The second thing, which is important if we want to have a growth mindset, is to remove the idea that we have to perpetually perform and prove ourselves and present ourselves as having all of the answers, right? When we have that notion that I need to show everybody how right I am, it can lead us to being defensive. It can also lead to hostility. It can also lead to us being closed off, right? Because if I'm so busy trying to convince you, that I'm also not able to hear you, right? If I am so busy trying to perform and persuade so that everybody can believe I have all of the answers, then it does not allow for my evolution or for my transformation. And so I invite you to think about what it would look like to come off the stage of false perfection, right? What it would be like to be more open and honest and receptive. Because when I am defensive and guarded and hostile, then I can't grow, right? Then there is no room. There's no breathing room in that. And so instead of needing to convince others, let's come home to ourselves. Let's be at home within ourselves. And I know many of our listeners are trauma survivors. And so that experience or those experiences, if you've had multiple traumas, can put you in a position where we talk about hypervigilance. And so when I am vigilant and guarded and defensive, it makes it hard for me to listen. It makes it hard for me to breathe. It makes it hard for me to really understand what is happening in the moment, as opposed to the recording that may be playing in my head based on past disasters, right? And so to give myself permission to be imperfect, not only in the eyes of other people, but also within myself, then it puts me in the frame of mind to be able to grow, right? Because then I am teachable and I am fallible. And when I recognize that I can and do make mistakes, right, and have faults, then those are things that can be my growth areas. But when I am trying to convince others and myself that I'm already perfect at everything, then where is the room for growth, right? There's no room for it. I already have everything. And so I invite you to think about your openness to not have to perform or present or defend perfection. I invite you to even feel what it feels like in your body to give yourself space and permission to make mistakes, to not have all of the answers, to be a co-journer, right? So all of us are trying to figure it out. All of us are trying to make our way back home to ourselves and then live from that place of groundedness. And so it's okay that you don't know all the answers. It's okay that even some of the answers that you do know are difficult to live out. And so we give ourselves breathing room and grace. And in that, we can have the liberation where growth is actually possible. And then it's going to be important to try to think about enjoying the journey instead of it being just this labor, this task, this chore, this obligation. You know, some people live in a very heavy place of like, oh, I'm working on myself. I'm working on myself. You know, this is ongoing process. So perhaps instead of it always being an intense, heavy lift, if there can be some enjoyment in the growing, right? Some enjoyment in the learning, some pleasure in the process, you know, where I can even laugh at myself sometimes, right? Of like, oh, okay, right? I got that one wrong. And now, you know, how do I shift that? How do I grow from that without everything being this like automatic condemnation? Sometimes people approach growth where they're judging themselves so harshly. And so then for every little mistake, they are then like replaying it over and over again and creating more weight on their own shoulders, right? And so if you can expand your ideas around growth and self-development so that your life is not just a labor, right? But that there is a lift in it, that there can be some lightness in this journey. There can be some joy in this journey. There can be love for ourselves and some patience for ourselves in the journey. So I am more likely to grow when those experiences of enjoyment go along with the process, right? Many people give up on the process because it is filled with self-judgment and self-rejection, right? So enjoy your life to the ability that you can. And I know not every day is going to be sunshine. Not every day are there going to be roses. But when I have the capacity to choose, I look for ways to shape a life in which I grow and I also enjoy the journey and appreciate the process. If we are going to grow, we have to also be willing to step outside of the box. So the box, or being, you know, a big fish in a small lake, is, you know, when I'm only willing to do the things that I'm already great at, then there is no room for growth, right? I can do this with my eyes closed. I can do this when I'm halfway asleep. because I've been doing it so long or that I'm so good at it. And so we're in our comfort zone. And it is remarkable and wonderful, the things that you have become really good at, or the things that were a natural talent for you. But if I'm going to grow, and if you're going to grow, then we need to step out of the box and actually allow ourselves to risk being a beginner, right? Are you willing to try something new that you're not already good at, right? So for some of you, that might be learning a language because you said, oh, I'm never any good at languages. So, gave up on that when you were a child, right? So it may be picking up an instrument. For some of you, it may be dating, that you have given up on that and you're excellent at work and you're excellent perhaps in achievement, but in matters of the heart, that area has been closed off. For some of you, it is you're closed off around your spirituality. And so to consider, what are the areas of my life or the area in my life when I'm willing to be a newbie, right? When I'm willing to try something different, when I'm willing to expand my territory, right? When I'm willing to enlarge my mindset, not having to go in already as an expert, that I'm going to learn and grow and develop and give myself grace and patience as I figure it out, right? As I learn from others. I may read, I might listen to podcasts. Part of my development will come with practice, right? The more I do whatever this activity is, then I will put myself in a position to actually be able to grow. In order to have a growth mindset, we also have to push past procrastination. When we procrastinate, we live life always saying one day, right? One day I'm going to start my own business. One day I'm going to start a podcast. One day I'm going to write a book. One day I'm going to start dating again, or one day I'm going to tell my children how much they mean to me. And so you may keep pushing off or putting off the very things that would allow you to grow. So then it is about us facing our fear and our insecurities so that we can start. And so if there are things you have been planning for some time, but have not taken any forward steps in, this is an important moment to reflect on yourself and to tell yourself the truth about what has stopped me from starting. Right? Is it that it feels too big, that I don't think I'm good enough, that I don't have anybody to support me? Well, all of those things, parts of them may be true, but that's where we leave room for growth, right? So if I don't know everything in order to do it, then I need to learn it. And a part of the learning might take place as I'm doing it. In terms of the insecurity, to just tell yourself the truth that, yes, the reason I'm insecure about this is I've never done it before. And it is scary. And I'm going to give myself permission to try. And then for those of you who don't have a strong support system, yes, it is true that life is easier when you have supportive people in your corner. And at the same time, if those people have not shown up yet, or you have not been able to cultivate those friendships or mentorships, to not allow that to stop you from starting. It is harder, and yet it is still possible. And you may experience an increase in connections and networking once you actually get started. Right? So if no one is encouraging you and your family to write your book, but you go on a writer's retreat or join some writer's support group, then you may make friends in the group or on the retreat, and then those are other writers who will cheer you on as you cheer for them. And so let us reflect honestly about what's been getting in the way and make the decision to take a step and then another step in the direction of our visions and dreams. And then it's going to be important, if I want to grow, to stop spreading myself too thin, right? That, when we're trying to nourish something to grow, we have to put time into it, right? Those who do gardening know that it takes time. Those who love to cook know that a lot of meals can take a lot of time. When we want there to be an expansion, it takes time, energy, and effort. And so what that means is, for me to say yes to the thing I want to grow in, I may need to say no to some other things, which are distractions or which may be positive things, but just I cannot give myself to all of this if I actually want to grow, right? So for example, if you say, in the new year, I want to read more. I want to really feed my mind, right? Well, that will mean I can't do all of this marathon TV watching of like hours and hours and hours, because both are not possible, right? I can watch a show and then go read something. But if I'm going to watch TV every evening until I fall asleep and then wake up and go to work and come home and do the same thing, then I'm not creating space for this area that I said I want to grow in. Yes. So I wonder if you can think about, are there any activities or people or distraction that you need to shift your time away from so that you can invest time in the areas in which you want to grow, right? So if my growth area is around my fitness and exercise, that's going to require time. If my growth area is around my spirituality, then I have to give that time. Yes. And so give time for the things that will help you to grow. And then I will say it's important not to give up. I think many times when we see people succeeding, there's an assumption that they were an overnight success or that it was instant. But if you read people's biographies or listen to people's interviews or just knowing people who you know personally, if they are honest with you about their process, you're going to see that it was ups and downs, that it took time, that there were some failures along the way, and they kept going. And so I invite you to make a decision that I'm not going to give up on me, even when I have setbacks, even when I make mistakes, even when I fall short of my own vision, that I'm not giving up on myself. And it's going to be so important, if I want to grow, to be intentional about selecting friendships, relationships with people who also have a growth mindset, right? If I am surrounding myself with people who are talking me out of my dreams, then often I'm going to end up quitting myself, right? And so iron sharpens iron, and you want to allow yourself to be in the presence of people who will not ridicule your desire for growth, that they won't try to sabotage the ways in which you are trying to grow, that they won't try to shade your shine, but instead that you all can be an encouragement to each other, even if the areas of growth that you're focused on are different. So I am excited as we started with today's poem about us each being sacred. I want to say to you, as a sacred being, that you are worthy and deserving of living your best life and being your best self. And that is not an ending point, but it's a continuous homecoming. It's a continuous journey. And I'm glad that by listening to the podcast, there's some indication that you're not giving up on you, that you are setting your mind in a position to be able to hopefully listen, apply the things that apply, and grow, because it is possible for us to extend, expand, launch, and grow. I invite your soul to tell your heart, mind, body, and spirit, welcome home.